Hello, my name is Kumud Gandhi. I'm the founder of the Cooking Academy, the cookery school based in Rickmansworth in Hertfordshire. Today I'm going to show you how to cook some of the things we teach here at the cookery school. Okay, I'm going to show you how to cook white rice. So we're going to start by washing the rice in warm water so that we can begin to loosen the starch. And it's important that you wash rice actually in a bowl as opposed to a colander so that you can bathe the rice and soak the rice as you're washing it. So I'm actually just going to be swirling my hands around the bowl to move the grain around the bowl, just to loosen the grain, loosen the starch away from the grain. I'm going to do this a few times, and I'm going to change the water on a number of occasions until actually the water begins to run clear. If you wanted to use a colander or a sieve or a strain to collect the rice, that would be fine. I'm quite used to doing this process, so I'm just going to sort of collect any grains of rice in my hand. But we're going to do this process over and repeatedly until the water runs clear and we're ready to cook the rice. Time permitting, if you're able to soak the rice for about 30 minutes in warm water, then all the better. It will reduce your cook time slightly and give you a slightly fluffier rice, but if time isn't there, then you can actually go straight from washing the rice to cooking it. I would say, in which case, that it might be advisable to wash the rice in as warm a water as you can handle so that you're already beginning to start the sort of soaking process and just accelerating that. So my water is getting clearer with each wash and I'm just ready to drain this out. And now on this final drain, I'm going to make sure that I drain as much water away as possible so that I can actually ensure that my measure of water going into here is perfectly accurate. So I'm just catching any grains of rice in my hand, throwing them back in, and now this rice is ready to go on into the pan. Make sure you scrape out all the rice so that your measure of water to rice ratio remains accurate. After a while, you will just get the measure of this. You won't have to be in a position where you're measuring rice. To here, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt before adding my water. For my water, I'm going to just use a jug here and fill it up with some warm water. I need 400 millilitres of water, so I just need to fill this up a little bit more here. There we are. So just give that a little stir, and that's ready to put onto the heat. Now, I'm going to start with a high heat in the first instance, just to bring it up to the boil. And then once it's come to the boil, we're going to drop the heat right down to the lowest point so that then it will just gently simmer for about 10 to 12 minutes. I always tend to use a glass-lidded pan, saucepan, so that I don't need to lift the lid up to see what's going on in here. And that's quite important because when you're cooking rice in the absorption method, ensuring that it's cooking in its steam and that the steam doesn't escape when you lift the lid is quite an important part of the rice cooking. And so here I've got my cooker, my heat on at a very high heat in the first instance. And then as soon as that comes to the boil, I'm going to drop that down to the very lowest heat. So that will take just a few moments to heat up, and then we can come and drop the heat back down. So let's have a look and see whether the rice is now coming to the boil. Okay, so we've just got the rice which is boiling over, or rather boiling I should say. We're going to turn this right down and have a look how low this heat is. It's really the lowest point that it could possibly go, and I'm now just going to place the lid back on and actually just allow the rest of the water to be absorbed by, and you can just see just how much water there still is. So you can see that there's still quite a lot of water left, and that's just all going to be absorbed in the next 10 minutes in the steaming process. Okay, let's go and have a look at the rice. It's been steaming for about 10 minutes, so let's see where we are. I'm going to switch the heat off before I open the pan and just have a quick look. Yes, it's perfectly cooked, not stuck at the bottom. So let me bring that over and we can have a look together. So that's lovely. Okay, so you can see it's not stuck to the bottom. It's just perfectly absorbed the rice, absorbed the water rather, and it's just absolutely ready to serve at this point. Now, if you wished to, you could let that stand for a few minutes. And in fact, if you let the rice stand after you've switched the heat off and actually just taken it away from the heat, rice actually just absorbs some of the flavour from the steam. So I would always recommend that if you can, just allow it to stand for about 5 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to actually just decant it into a little ramekin here, just so that we can serve it onto this beautiful plate. And just mash it in there so that it holds in the ramekin very well. Squeeze it in. If you force it too much, when you take it out of the ramekin, it will actually just all fall apart. So it's important that you don't squeeze it too much, but enough to hold it together. And then just put that onto the plate. And release that out. Okay. Now I've got some chicken which I can serve this with. So let's just arrange this on the plate, and then we can actually some lovely chicken in some fennel seeds and some chili. And let's garnish this rice with a little bit of coriander leaf just on top, just to break up the colour a little bit. And that's perfectly ready to serve. Enjoy.